Hello, welcome to Jesus Before Money. My name's Corey, and welcome. Before we begin, please leave me a like and maybe a comment. What is your favorite crypto? Maybe there's a crypto on here that I didn't cover, and you're like, "Hey, you missed it, man. This one's going to $1,000,000,000, and I really want to see it." And just to be honest, if you leave me a comment, "Hey, can you look at this crypto for me?" I will do some technical analysis just for you. I'll make a short video dedicated just for you for just leaving a comment and a like. All right, with that said, buckle up. Get ready because I'm going to go through a whole bunch of crypto, ones that I follow regularly and things that have moved and are setting up to move, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, fast forward to the one of your choice. I don't do a lot of editing on my videos yet. I'm still new to the whole YouTube world, but I think my TA is very good. So I hope it helps you. None of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is just a hobby of mine, but I hope that you get something out of it. Okay, so we'll begin with Bitcoin, the leader. Now, all I did was from December of 17, connected this high to this high to that high. So, in theory, what am I trying to say here? We're extended. We're in a major resistance on Bitcoin, which is a sign that the crypto market could potentially roll over. Keep that in the back of your head. And in 20 hours from now, just 20 hours from now, we'll see. Will we form a topping tail? Where you close, the bar would close less than 50% of the total move, and then you would have to close in the lower 25%. So if we close around 116.5, we probably put in a weekly toppy tail suggesting that we topped. That this is a local top, a short-term top, and that some correction is going to happen. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I know Bitcoin is going to do great things, but as of now, it has ran, and it is going to consolidate, okay? These periods happen, these ebbs and flows. Now, where might it consolidate to? Where might a buying level be? That is the most important question, correct? So I'm turning on some trend lines that I'm watching. See these former tops here, right? And then this upsloping channel, this upsloping this upsloping trend line, excuse me. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. But really, 113.5-ish to about probably 112.5, probably this top here, which is 111.820. But we're going to be higher than that, so we'll probably be up in here when it hits. But 111.8. So if you wanted to start nibbling on some Bitcoin, I would say 113.5 down to 111.8. Okay, call it like 12.5, somewhere in the middle, right? And if we break here, that's not a problem. We'll come back here and test, and hopefully we can gain some support. But this line right here, let me draw it in. This is your next major support area, are these tops, right? But in the short term, it's going to be here. Now, can we consolidate to break out again? Sure. In the back of my mind, it's like Bitcoin should probably hit 125. I think it got to 123.5, somewhere in there. So yeah, we could come back up here and tag again. You know what I mean? But by all means, I would say you could nibble. I would do a starter position on this line and then really wait, to see if we get down here and then ultimately to this trend line, right? Start coming into increments so we can get another pop. Okay? Not financial advice, but that's what I would do, right? One thing to mention before we head to the others. Oh, I forgot to mention what we're covering. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, Solana, SUI, Cardano, Avalanche, Link, ICP, HBAR, Caspa, Doge, and PEPE. Wow, that's a lot. Now the SPX. S&P 500. Why are you covering the SPX if we're looking at crypto? Well, if the market starts to roll over, the crypto market will roll over. And what I've been tracking is this parallel, top to top, right? And then really, what's on major watch is this former trend line. where this was all resistance. We broke, and then we had a gap above and been consolidating on. Okay? If we break this, and look, we did break it on Wednesday of last week. When we break that, which was the 8 EMA, we started getting below the 8 EMA. This really started selling quick, right? And all morning is if we break below here, we'll find some support on the former all-time high, but really we're probably going to come down and fill this gap, 60.25. So if we start to roll over, crypto's going to roll over, right? I mean, there'll be negative news that the stock market's selling. Crypto is not decoupled from the stock market yet. You get some runners that go against trend, but it's not there yet. All the legislation is shaping up to be, but not yet. Okay? So that's my warning. Just in the back of your mind, as the plays I set up, I would have an exit strategy. Short-term trade. If you want to buy and hold forever, feel free. I'm not, but if you wanted to make money, you don't make money by buying and holding forever. Eventually you have to liquidate, right? And that's what I'm trying to help you, is trying to make money, trying to find buy levels so you can get into some crypto if you want to hold it or if you want to sell. But none of this is financial advice. All right, Ethereum. My first video was like, I really don't like Ethereum. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. What an idiot. But anyway, Ethereum is looking very, very good. Obviously, we know that. This trend line here, so we're somewhere about $4,000 is probably going to be all your money in the short term. Okay. Now, what caused Ethereum to move? What was the pattern, right? This cup, and actually I'm going to bring this in a little bit. Whoa, come on. You kind of need to encompass this whole move. Probably right there. But inverse head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Right? Or you could just say this was a cup and handle. Either way. But what's our measured move? The measured move on Ethereum, and I missed this in my first video. Shame on me. But it's about $1,427. Let's call it $1,450, okay, just to be extra bullish. $1,450 takes us to a breakout above this trend line, just ever so slightly. What was it? I think it was around 4,500. Let's just call it 4,500, right? Nice whole round number. So this setup is kind of suggesting we're going to go to 4,500. But this vertical nature is telling me that not only do we have resistance coming up, so we're going to get a check back, but we should get a check back, okay? We should get a check back. Where might we check back to? Is the major question. No, that's not what I want to do. Forgive me. See, I don't know where we're gonna go. Let's just say we run up into here, right? Maybe we go a little bit higher. But anyway, I really like this level here. Right? And you might disagree and say we're never gonna get back there, but you go up, you come down. You go up, you come down. But the fact that this was resistance, and that we broke out of here means that if we were to come down, this would now be support, right? Right around 2796. Call it 2800, okay? Would be your first major line of support. And this could be altered a little bit, maybe 2750. How bullish are you on Ethereum? Call it 2800, okay? But this would be your first line of support. And then, for whatever reason, if the stock market sells, right, we have this upsloping trend line on Ethereum that has been broken in the past. And this is what I was saying was probably a good buy level, that this could have been a shoulder, this could be a larger head and shoulder before we get moving. But I think anyway, my fault. I should have seen the head and shoulder, but I was, anyway, I'm I'm gonna be quiet. However, where's a good buy level? A retest of this line would be a great buying opportunity if we get an opportunity for that to happen. Okay, we'll look for about 2,800 on a good buying opportunity, and because we're just so extended here, I would say your time to take profits is coming to a close. It would be very rare for us this extended to be able to break through this trend line. But if we broke through this trend line, retest support would be the buying opportunity for the next move higher. Okay? But the time is running short. 3,800 to 4,000 is probably going to be all the money in the short term on Ethereum. Okay. All right. So maybe just trim back some profits there and then look to buy a dip, right? Okay. XRP is going to 10 million billion quadrillion dollars, right? That's what they're all saying. Maybe, but just not right now. So this trend line here, ting ting ting, is acting as resistance. And sure, we broke out of there. We pierced it. But what you'll notice is, what did we put in on the pierce? Not a topping tail. But very close. Very close. All right, I know it's probably distracting, but look at this. We go here. And we look here to here. I'm jacking this up now. Hold on, bear with me, I'm sorry. Okay, we closed in the lower 50%. But the problem is, right around $3.50, is that this did not, well, maybe it did. Maybe it did. This could definitely be a topping tail. I might have to do that again. I'm going to do that again. Now, bear with me. You're learning. I'm learning. We're all learning. This is definitely within the 50% line, right? So now, I'm going to come here. This is how I do it anyway. Yeah, lower 25%. This is a daily topping tail on XRP. It's putting in a topping tail. And look, we closed here and we've been chopping sideways. Could you say that we're putting in bullish consolidation? Possibly. But the fact that we ran so hard and right into resistance and put in the topping tails suggests that we're probably going to pull back. Not only that, your shoulder, your head, and your shoulder, right? This was the inverse head and shoulders that I had mentioned on the first video I made. And I said, just don't FOMO in here because it's going to run and then you're going to get a chance to buy back in. But that was $1.2, okay? How far have we ran? 1.27. So, I mean, that literally is textbook full measured move. Another thing to notice on XRP, every time you get these big moves up, what do? You get a consolidation period. Big move, you get a consolidation. So a consolidation period is likely due. Yes, XRP is probably going to be the new SWIFT system, this, that, and the other, but not yet. And I just really have a feeling that they're going to try to shake us out. They're going to try to shake us out before they put in this new system. So where would buying levels be, Corey? That is the question, right? Because that's what I was telling everybody is wait for the pullback. Wait for the pullback. Wait for the pullback. Okay? So fib retrace. Now look at this. You can't see it, but I've had this line, which was this chop in here. Okay? And 2.57, so about 260 is probably the money on XRP. We will more than likely consolidate down here. right? And these would be your buy levels, 2.78 and 2.57, or 280 and 260, where you would really want to start nibbling. I know a lot of people with their emotions think that that's just going to go a lot higher. In the short term, we're due for a pullback on this big move, and where that might be, 280 and 260. Okay? I'll revisit all this. Is published out there, so I'll revisit it all later. And potentially, just potentially, if we get a hard enough sell in the stock market, if things really collapse, China invades Taiwan or something crazy, we could potentially see a retest of this breakout. The fact that this moves so hard, getting back down here, closer to $2 seems unlikely, but it is a slim possibility. Okay? Usually we would move and then get a check back before you move, but this thing wanted, everyone was thinking this going at $10,000, FOMO'd in. Now we're going to retrace. Okay? XLM. XLM, I've said this a million times, is my favorite token by far. It's my favorite, right? I don't like that. But look, this has been in this consolidation pattern while XRP, I didn't show this. I think maybe I did. Has already broken out of its consolidation pattern. So XLM really hasn't even broken out yet, right? It's lagging XRP. But in the short term, just like XRP, it had an inverse head and shoulders, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder, breakout. Now on this one, the inverse head and shoulders was about a 20-cent move, right? How far have we gone since the breakout? We surpassed 20 cents. We hit 30 cents. So this thing is cooking. It's cooking. Shoulder, look at that. Maybe shoulder, head, and we come down to form another shoulder, right? But this right here, this top, this right in here, is causing resistance, okay? I don't see a daily topping tail. Maybe we're putting in some sideways consolidation for a push up. But I'm just going to warn you that, not warn you, but I just want to tell you that we could push up to here, but about 58, 60 cents, I would expect a check back. And we've just gone so vertical so fast. So vertical, consolidation. So vertical, you're going to see consolidation, right? I mean, the ebbs and flow of the charts, the fear and greed of the charts, there are people taking profits. Not everyone hodls, right? So, this thing, just say that was the top, which may or may not be the case, but let's just say it's the top for now, right? So if this was the top, it's like 52-cent line, right? Then you would be looking at these levels, about 37 to 33 cents, call it 35. Probably 35 cents would be your money. Just telling you that this can consolidate more than you think, right? Plus now we have this upsloping trend line here, here, here. So we could come down to here, 30 cents. I don't know. I'm just telling you, it's going to consolidate. Could move up, but I don't think it's going to go up to $1 overnight. It's going to go in stages. Always goes in waves. Okay? So XLM, just in the short term, know that we're nearing a top. We could consolidate, but, the top of here, 58 cents, 60 cents, probably going to be the money before we really start another consolidation phase, okay? I love these cryptos. Just telling you that the consolidation phase is coming. Solana. Now, Solana, this would be your upside target. Now, this could be this was a cup and handle, and this could be a much larger cup and handle. Okay, but in the short term, where are buy levels, right? I did see this inverse head and shoulders, a shoulder, a head, and a little shoulder, right? So if you do a measured move on this, you're looking at about $40, $41. So from this breakout, you should come up $40 to $41. So somewhere around 207, probably 205. Somewhere around there, 210. 205 to 210. But then look at this, another shoulder, maybe another head, and then another shoulder. So what Solana looks like it's doing to me is it needs to build up before its next move. So where's your next buy level if you wanted to get in here, correct? Because I didn't want anyone to try to just FOMO in, like they just had to buy something. Shoulder, head, shoulder, breakout, right? So you're going to probably retest this 165, around 165. And this thing probably going to chop up and down in here. I mean, it chopped up and down in here, right? It's going to hopefully put in some bullish consolidation down to about 165. If you really wanted to get in, 168, but I would probably wait for a flat 165. Plus, we have this upsloping trend line here, right? So if we break that, then we could buy here. But this is just signaling, even if this was an inverse head and shoulders break, this could now be another inverse head and shoulders with setting up for much bigger move. Or this is a cup and then a handle. Either way, the much bigger move, right, could take us about $60. So I can't remember, the other one was like 40 or so, but let's go 60. 60 takes us up to about 246. 246, probably called, back to 250. Probably a whole number. Probably get some selling a number. We're not going to go there in a straight line. There's going to be ebbs and flows, but this is setting up for a much bigger move. So, as a trader, I would wait for a pullback to about 165, 166, or this trend line. It would kind of fail but 166. If you can get back in here, and it just continues to consolidate for the next leg up, you're probably heading back to $250. Okay. Just keep this 166 on the back of your mind in case you wanted to try to get a better price. All right, SUI. I know a lot of people like SUI. Chop SUI. Now, what's very interesting about SUI is it literally broke out and has retested this trend line, right? So now this is into support. And I was looking at this, maybe shoulder, maybe head, maybe shoulder, so this could be a massive move on SUI coming. Probably just got a lot of people really excited about that. So call it 2.8. So from this breakout, 2.8, takes us up to about 6.5 cents. That'd be huge, right? Plus, it's a nasty head and shoulders, but it could inverse head and shoulders, but it could be definitely here a little shoulder, a head, and possibly another shoulder, or just even a cup and a handle pattern, a bullish setup, right? Where you go up and then you start putting in a bull flag. So where would a good buy level be? These pivots down in here, right around 3.5 to call it 3.6 cents, $3.60. Okay, because you have a lot of support here, and if this moves from here to here, let's just say that this is the move. That's $1.8. I can't remember what I just said on the other one, but 1.8. It's going to take you up to about $6. I think the other one was $6.50. So somewhere between $6 and $6.50 is probably going to be the move on SUI. That's pretty good, almost a 2x. So I like SUI. Very interesting. Okay, not financial advice, right? And just remember that if we get a pullback in the market, all these things are off the table, and to lower, you have to watch your levels and have to see what the broader markets are doing. Okay. Cardano in this massive wedge. I love this setup. I love this setup. I love this setup. Just like XLM. Now, last time I did a video on this, I was like down in here, and I said probably going to have to round out before it could break out. That's exactly what it did. Shoulder, head, shoulder. And at that time, I said your measured move would be somewhere around 30 cents. Okay? So that would have taken us out of this wedge somewhere about, get us to about $1. Okay? But we ran into resistance here. Now, I'm going to keep this on because this is going to act as support just in case it comes down in here, right? But look at now we have maybe even a bigger inverse head and shoulders with a shoulder. Let me make sure you can see that. The shoulder, a head, and now it's going to have to round out a shoulder, put in some bullish consolidation so it can break up. But this is going to act as resistance, this trend line. This is still going to act as resistance. However, if this works out, or even just a cup and a handle pattern, right? Then we're looking at even a bigger move. We're looking at about 33 cents, which would take us up to about $1.20. Anyway, if we can get a pullback down to about 0.77, that would be a good move. If the markets sell off, obviously you need to adjust that lower. But the bottom of this candle, 0.77, this is a topping tail. So this is really going to need to consolidate. And it might even start to consolidate this way on this trend line here. So it could go lower. But consolidate before the next big breakout. Okay? All right? You got it? And then beginning over this is going to be a hump. So it would hit here and then probably check back. Now this would be support. And then it would check back to this trend line, which I'll put that price on there for you. Somewhere around this 85-cent line. So once it breaks through here, then it'll check back and now you have your support levels just in case you start to fail. Nothing's guaranteed in trading. But ADA is setting up for a bigger move. Okay? Avalanche has more this kind of little wedge pattern here, right? And I could come up this way. These were just my support lines that I was watching. Right? You kind of see that? Anyway, failed breaking out here, but Avalanche, just like the others, guess what pattern it's putting in? Shoulder. This did not really round out this shoulder, but this is what I think is going on with Avalanche. Okay? It just decided to take off. So now it's probably going to run into resistance up here, somewhere around. All right, let me give you a better so you can see the price target. Right around these highs right here, right around 25.81. Call it 25.50. Be more conservative. Avalanche is probably going to stall out here. Okay, maybe another little bit up, and then anyway, what potentially here? A shoulder, a head. It's going to tag, and then it's going to come down, round out, and form the other shoulder before it breaks out, or just cup, bullish handle before we go. Okay, but I'm just going to use this as a breakout, right? We break out from there. That is a $10, call it $10.25. Okay, $10.25 is going to take us. Let's call it $36. Up to about $36 is going to be the target on Avalanche. $36 is going to be the target on Avalanche. So this needs to consolidate. So what's a good buying level? A good buying level on Avalanche is going to be this former pivot right here, right around 2260. 2260. Can you see that? 2260, this pivot right here. Because what's going to happen is this is going to have to consolidate. This is going to have to consolidate. I mean, this just ran, just whoop, we're going to go. So it's going to have to put in a bull flag. So hopefully, let's just go to the bottom of this candle here. Call it 23 bucks. If you're really bullish on Avalanche and you had to get in, start a starter position at $23. Okay? For that bigger move I talked about. How big was that? This would be about a $10 move. So, you know, you'd go up to about 35 bucks or so. Anyway, probably up into like this pivot right here, 35.19, this pivot. But just remember, you're gonna get a check back here, right? So then resistance would become support or whatever the pattern ends up being. But this is setting up for a launch as long as the markets don't sell. Okay, and those are your levels. 22.69, you know, 23, 22.50, somewhere in there would be a great buying opportunity for this bullish consolidation so it could rip out of here. Okay? All right, chain link, also in this wedge, right? It's in a wedge. I was looking for inverse head and shoulders on this. I think this is one of the only ones that does not have it. Yeah, unless this was it. Here, hold on. Shoulder, head, shoulder. I mean, but we didn't even stop. We just broke out and we've already retested, right? Because I was looking here. That's not really an inverse head and shoulder. I'm going to remove that line. This might have already been the inverse head and shoulders right here. It's very inverse head and shoulders-esque. Plus, it's already retested and found support. So where's Chainlink going? Let's call that $7.50. Probably to the top line. It's 8.9. Where's 750? Chainlink is probably going to start to really stall out right there. About $25. So call that inverse head and shoulders with, you know, your move up here. So where's a good first place to buy? So we can get back to $17.50. $17.50 is where you would take a starter position. After that, where was that trend line I had before? Hold on. Let's see, what's this? I want to come more like this right here. Now it seems like it's impossible, but really a check back to here. That would be a collapse. Yeah. That would be rough. Anyway, I think Chainlink's going to go. Chainlink's on its way. That's what it looks like to me. I'm getting bullish. Check back to $16 would be your next support line if that breaks. So I would say, you know, you probably want to try to get in Chainlink at $17.50 for a bigger move up here. I'm starting to get pumped out about Chainlink. Okay, ICP. I put ICP on here because I have, you know, somebody that I know that really likes ICP. But when I see this from $628 down to $5.88, I'm just like, you know, this just seems like the company's bankrupt. The one problem we have in crypto is that there's no regulations. You can just print infinite amount of tokens. And I remember seeing a video about ICP supply, and they just keep adding supply. They offer you a great interest rate to stake with them, but they just keep printing tokens, coins. And I don't know if that's true. You know, I know a lot of people love ICP, but man, this is the place to be buying if you're going to be buying, right? I do not see it inverse head and shoulders. I just see really this is either accumulation phase or this is really a bear flag. This is just putting in bear sideways consolidation. For me, and I could be wrong. I mean, you do have in the short term this wedge here, right? But man, it's hard. It's hard. Let me just get bullish on this for a minute, because I don't want to talk bad about any crypto or anything else. Okay, obviously you can see that this $6.10 level is acting as a lot of resistance. It's having a hard time breaking out of there. Where would a good buying level be? Man, because of this thing and the way it is, I'm so suspect on ICP. It's not even funny. You just don't understand the tech. Yeah, maybe. Let's just say shoulder, head, and this was a really nasty, ugly shoulder. Okay, but consolidation. So $5.25, $5.25. You know, maybe nibble. And then you got this 461 that's been acting as a lot of support. So, you know, you can do like $5.25, $5, and like $4.75 if it starts coming down, just to acquire some ICP. But let me just get bullish here for a second and say that, hey, I'm wrong. ICP is going to start taking off here from here. It's very possible. So let's just say that this is the shoulder, this is the head, and for whatever reason, this is a very wonky shoulder. It kind of looks inverse head and shoulders-esque, right? It's building momentum. So you're looking about a $2 move from breakout. So obviously we're at 617, so we're going to be going up to about 617, yeah, around $8. $8 and something, $8 and change. Maybe this little pivot right down in here, right? But you're going to stall out here. You're going to have resistance here around 750. You know, so I just say if you really want to play ICP, not saying it's going to get there, but I would just be cautious, because it just hasn't really done anything in a long time. Not saying it's not going to. It could be a sleeper, but I just I would caution you here. Here, let me do one last thing on ICP to see if I can give you some better levels. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, like I was kind of saying, 525 is a good level, $5. And this is saying 470, but 475. I don't think you're going to come below this trend line here. So 525, 5, and then 475. You know, nibble. And then stake it or whatever you want to do with ICP. And I hope that this actually does become something. But this pattern is at least bullish. And we're consolidating down here, so this is a consolidation period. Right? HBAR. HBAR's pattern to me, I was looking, here, let me try to make this bigger so you can see it. Okay, shoulder, head, and shoulder, right? And HBAR was about 12 to 13 cents. Come here and go up 12 to 13 cents. That was 14 cents, and I had a nice check back. So was that the full move? I don't know. It could still run, right? Another thing I was kind of noticing up here anyway is, look at this. Just trying to think out loud a little bit, okay? So what if this is the true head and shoulders? Shoulder, head, and then we'll have to round out the shoulder, okay? Where might that shoulder round out to? Where might be a good buying level for HBAR? That is another good question. I'll probably say this shelf here. Let's see here. Let's say right there. Because look, we're finding support. You know, if this starts to fail, you could just really think that this is some big rounded bottom. It's kind of hard to imagine, but that this is more a shoulder. This is just a really elongated shoulder, and shoulder, much elongated shoulder, and then hopefully we put in bullish consolidation. So if you can get down here to 2.3, call it 250. 250 is kind of a stretch. 23 cents. 23 cents, I think, would be your support. 23 cents. And I even put that up a little bit more. Okay? It's 2.33. Call it 2.35. Get an order in for 2.35. Just because if this is a much larger shoulder, head, and then shoulder, or even if this is a W pattern, when we come in and then we do a V, whatever the case may be, this could be bullish, right? This could, if this was your shoulder, your head, your shoulder, this is kind of the bottom. So then you could possibly be looking at a 15-cent move. Which would take us to new all-time highs and put us right around 0.425. Okay? So, levels on HBAR to watch to start to accumulate this tip. Right around 0.23, 0.235, somewhere in there. That's also the level to watch for a breakdown. Okay? And if we do start seeing that type of stuff, then I'll come out with new levels. CASPA. CASPA. I love CASPA. First video I had a shirt, right? But what's going on with the CASPA? Rock the CASPA, baby. So shoulder, head, shoulder, inverse head and shoulders, right? Right around this 0.9, right around 9 cents is support. That would be the buying opportunity for this next move. So 0.03, looking at about a 3-cent move, so it's going to take us about 12 cents. 0.3, let's see. I don't know. Somewhere around 12 cents, somewhere up in here. And the first time I think I made the video, I can't remember if I said this was an inverse head and shoulders or what I said. But anyway, this is now an inverse head and shoulders. Or even if you wanted to say cup and handle, whatever. But inverse head and shoulders, right? Going to 12 cents. Good buying opportunity is about 9 cents if we get a retrace to 9 cents flat. And that's also your level to watch for breakdown. Also, I failed to mention this trend line. You're going to get a check back here around 10 cents, 10.5 cents. You're going to get a check back. And so, you know, the consolidation would really start to ramp up here before a breakout. And I hope to God we can get a nice breakout on CASPA. It would help me out a lot. Anyway, let's move on. I love CASPA. Look at this. Look, that's going to be... I'm going to leave that there for a second, but I just saw this. I'm actually going to get rid of this. Hide. This is what I'm seeing for me. Shoulder. Head. And then run up to here for shoulder. But that would be around 12 cents. 11 cents. Interesting. Okay. Now what's that play? Now what's that play? That's about 8-9 cents. So once we get up here, go 8-9 cents. That'd be nice. That'd get us back up to about 20 cents. That would be really nice. So potential much bigger. Here, let me hide this. Much bigger inverse head and shoulders on CASPA's chart. Does everyone see that? Let me hide. All I need is your love. All I need. All right, let's see. I've been on like Dancing with the Stars and stuff. Like I'm such a good singer. American Idol. All right, you see that? Shoulder, head, shoulder. Up to 20 cents. Probably up to this pivot right here. 18, 19 cents. That would be resistance too. But that's cool. I like that. I just saw that. Cool? Who what? So, not financial advice, but maybe you want to get into KAS at 9 cents for this big run. If we have a big run, right? Just probability suggests we're going up. The stock market really starts to sell and it bleeds into crypto, which usually does. We could see a sell-off. All right. Dogecoin. Dogecoin, has same wedge. I love the wedge. What did I see on Doge? Well, first of all, this trend line here has been blocking us, right, from going much higher. So I'm going to take that off. Just know that we're into resistance, so pullback is likely. Now, I'm going to take this off just so you can see what's going on here. Shoulder, head. Now I think we're going to have to round out this shoulder before we can go further. Where might a good buying opportunity be? I think this is, depending on how bullish, the meme coins can just go nuts. So it's possible. But this 0.215 would be a good buying opportunity, right? If we get a check back here. And we just consolidate before we move up. Or if you really want to be bullish, I want to give you a better level than that. 0.235. Let's say 0.235. Somewhere in here. Now, I would personally wait. I would hope we would get a better check back. Just because we're so extended. Even if we chopped up in here, right? A cup and handle or inverse head and shoulders, right? All these patterns are suggesting that things are going to go a lot higher. Which is very good for crypto. I was a little bearish my first video, so it is what it is. But my family, my nickname when I was a kid was Corey Bear, so I'll just be Corey Bear. I can live with that. I would rather be safe than sorry. But this move, that setting up on Doge, could be epic. Okay. Now you're looking at about a 10-cent move, 10, 11 cents from this breakout here. 10, 11 cents, probably take us up to this pivot right around 35 cents. That's nothing to shake a stick at. 35 cents. You're looking at about a 40% move. That's good. That's really good. It's really nice. Now, do I see another inverse head and shoulders like the other one? Now I'm thinking here. Did I miss some stuff? And possibly. Look here. We go here. Let's see. That would be our shoulder. This would be... Wow. Look at that. Shoulder, head, shoulder break with a retest. Holy moly. Holy moly. Huh. I'm getting really excited on crypto all of a sudden. Like you're looking at about 19, 20 cent move. So 39, maybe even 40 cents. I think I said 35. So we're looking at about 35 to 40 cents on Doge. Wow. Wow. It's amazing. In reality, if it's not going to go there tomorrow, but it'd probably test the top of here around 43 cents, 44, 45 cents. It would probably continue going, you know what I mean? So we're probably going to see the top of this thing. So not financial advice. 0.235, and then hopefully, just hopefully, 0.215. Maybe get larger consolidation. I mean, it just happens, right? I'm not being bearish on that fact. I mean, it happens. Consolidation. These would be your levels. Let me make them more clear. Right in here, I would say if you really wanted to get in, 0.235. Play this bullish consolidation for another break up. And then just put your stop right there, too, in case we start to break down. Cool? All right, PEPE. PEPE. Now you got me thinking. Probably another inverse head and shoulders. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wedge pattern. Okay. Now, I just saw something in the chart. Very interesting. But look, shoulder, even this, shoulder, head, and shoulder, right? So this move is big. Plus our next line of resistance is going to be up here, which is going to be in bigger inverse head and shoulders, setting up for a much larger move. So where's your buying opportunity? And look, we have broken out of this wedge. Okay. So if, just if, we could get a retrace to yeah, I'm actually going to come up here. I'm not going to see all the zeros, but 125, 0.000125. You know, that's where I'd put an order to try to catch some PEPE. Okay, catch some PEPE there. Okay, because this move to here is about 5. We call it 5.5. I'm not going to say all the zeros, but if we go higher, that is 7. Call it 7, because I think we're going to have to come up here and chop before we go. So 7. But I thought I saw something in the chart. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Let me see. Ah, looky. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Holy cow. Holy moly, Batman. 220. This is going to be 0.000012. So this is going to be 1213. Let's do that number. 1213 from the breakout, which this trend line's here. Breakout, retest, 12 to 13. Probably going to stall out at 0.000025. About 100% move would be the max. We're not going to go there all at once, right? We're going to go up here. And then we're going to move. And then we're going to consolidate and move as long as we continue to stay bullish in the markets. So, if you want to get in, try to get in as close to 0.000125 as possible. Okay? Maybe even just the bottom of these wicks if you're super bullish. About 13.0013. Okay? Just realize that this thing could consolidate for a while. Could consolidate down in here before the big move up. Okay. So, hopefully you got really bullish on crypto. Hopefully you stayed. I don't have all the effects and everything, but I think I do a pretty good job on trying to provide levels, trying to give you a broader perspective of what's going on, and just realize that everything I said was the most probable outcome based upon what the chart and the run and everything that's going on. Obviously, everything is subject to change. As it was best described to me, it's like playing Texas Hold'em, right? First of all, you're dealt 2 cards. And then the river happens. Your probability changes, right? And then, or the turn, and then I don't even know what it is. What it's the turn and then the river card, right? The flop, the turn, the river, whatever the terminology is. But every time more cards are come out, or new candles, or new events, or whatever, as we go in time, the probabilities of all these moves change. So you have to be able to ebb and flow. I'm not saying right now that everything is going to happen the way I said it's going to happen. Those are the probabilities. Okay. Now with that, please leave a like, leave a comment, whatever. Please be polite, but whatever. And leave a crypto, leave a stock, something that you want me to do some more in-depth analysis on, and I will. And with that, I'll yield you your time. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great week. Goodbye.